Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because, wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack.
You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about, like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
I never get to, use my intellectual capacity in anything other than coloring and playing Barbies. What fresh hell?
Laughing in the face of motherhood. So even when I'm sitting and watching Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and getting very invested in Mary Cosby and her drama, I'm still in a room full of burbling volcanoes, any of which could erupt at any time, with Margaret Abels
and Amy Wilson. I had, 2 + 2 and a picture of Jesus to color in, and that was my homework.
A podcast that solves today's parenting dilemmas
so you don't have to. Getting married is much harder on women than it is on men. Fascinating. Hello, everyone, and welcome to What Fresh Hell, Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. This is Margaret.
And this is Amy. Today, we're talking about why women have less free time.
Can I guess?
Yeah, I think you can guess.
Because we do all the things.
Get ready to get really mad, you guys. And notice I didn't say why mothers have less free time, because that is certainly true. But as we are going to find out, this goes across all kinds of socioeconomic groups. Women do more than men to take care of the things and the people around them.
Will we be at any time citing the soon-to-be-released Amy Wilson book, Happy to Help? Because I think we will.
I think we will, because I think, when we get down to solutions, I have put some thought into this. But I do think that a major contributor to this is that it continues to serve everybody around us pretty well, the status quo. And that's why changing this is harder than knowing about it.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll discuss it, but I also think, speaking of, if you don't know the reference, Amy, our own Amy Wilson, does have a book coming out in January called Happy to Help, Adventures of a People Pleaser. And it is, first of all, a great, funny, everything you would expect from Amy book, but also treads this ground that I think we're going to be talking about today about our instincts, our generally positive instincts to be a helper, to get involved, to be part of the solution. And the flip side of that, which is if you never say no, that it actually really negatively impacts your life.
I'm starting to do some interviews for the book, and people pleasers right on the cover. It's a subtitle of the book, but so that's always what people ask me about. I don't talk that much in the book about the idea of people pleasing because I kind of reject it as a notion that the reason that women like me have too much to do is because we're too busy people pleasing. It's like because our plate has too many things on it. It's not because I have this secret desire. I think that puts the onus back on us to fix it instead of society. But I looked up people pleaser. What is the definition? And there's many definitions, but the most basic one is putting other people's wants and needs above your own. And I was like, see also mother, definition 1.
Right. And we've talked about this on the podcast before. And when society is set up without a lot of guardrails, you are the guardrail. And I mean, I have been in that situation and it's very frustrating. I'm going to use a complete hypothetical that's not true. That you have, let's say, a sick child. That people often want to say, well, make sure you're taking care of yourself. And the reality is I'm not. I'm doing all of this because I have to, because there's no one else to do it. And it actually has to be done. And I think, is there ever a time to look at those stories for ourselves and say, like, are there times where we're maybe defining things that have to be done? We talked about this on the kin keeping episode, that the idea of like, well, did the holidays have to be this over the top, wonderland that you create? And in some ways, the answer is yes, it does have to be, because that's the joy of your life. But it takes a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. Right. And you might enjoy doing it, but it's a lot of work, and it's not evenly distributed, and it's not our imaginations. I guess that's what I keep coming back down to. Like, it's society. It's not that you think too hard about how to make everything perfect all the time. It's that Christmas or Rosh Hashanah or whatever the holiday is we're talking about falls more squarely on the woman's shoulders to make it bright, make it wonderful, make it everything. It's not your imagination. It's true.
Right. And the elderly parent who you are worried about being home by themselves, but you don't have the bandwidth to provide 24-hour care to, or the money to do that, that is an unbelievable stressor. And there is no lane that's like, just don't sweat it. That lane doesn't exist. Like,
that's right.
Okay, if I'm worried that my mom, this is a hypothetical, is home alone in early stage dementia and is going to light the curtains on fire, that's not my outrageous over worrying. That's not relax. That is a Scylla and Charybdis, as we say, a rock in a hard place. Like, do I want to make sure that I'm home and around for my kids, or do I want to go to my mom's and make sure that she's safe? Those two things absolutely exist. It's not like you just need to relax.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. You're singing my song. Well, so there is a nonprofit organization called the Gender Equity Policy Institute. They're dedicated to advancing gender equity through research and education. They put out a report just this month, October 2024, called the Free Time Gender Gap Report. So it's lots of statistics and hard proof of the inequitable distribution.
Of the things that we already know, yes.
The things that we're talking about, but it's true. And as they highlight in the report, we'll get to this, it's that we do more and it leads to a gap in free time. And that gap in itself then contributes ever more to the inequitable situation we find ourselves in, because we have less free time because we're doing this. That leads to a more sexist world. So we're going to talk about this. This was their overall executive summary that they started with. They said, for families with children under 18 at home, the division of home responsibilities is grossly unequal. Mothers, whether they are married or single, do significantly more than fathers. Women spend more time than men taking care of children, doing household work, like the cooking, the laundry, the cleaning. And all of this work is undervalued and either underpaid or unpaid.
A lot of it unpaid.
Mm-hmm. Right. A lot of it unpaid. But it's not just women in heterosexual relationships, and it's not just women with kids, and it's not just married women. This blew my mind. Simply being a woman, they say, is linked to spending more time on unpaid childcare and household work and having less free time. Even when you control for age, income, race, ethnicity, whether or not you're a parent, whether or not you're married. Simply being a woman. They're seeing this in groups as young as 18 to 24. Women 18 to 24 do twice as much household work as men 18 to 24. It's wild. And like, how can this be, right? Because times have changed. We know that times have changed and things are supposed to be different now. We know that, but it doesn't bear out in the research.
Right. I mean, I hear young people, I feel like, express a lot of kind of post-gender in the way that we use terms like post-racial, that, we are moving to a much less gender-defined era, which I think is true. I do think I see that playing out in our simplistic way. I mean, we used to tell a riddle when we were kids that a kid's father brings him to the hospital, and then it's like, no, you can't operate. The doctor is his parent. And it's like, well, how could that be? The dad's already with him. And it's like, the mom is the doctor. That was the solution to the riddle. I do think if you told a kid that riddle today, wouldn't they be like, the mom's the doctor?
I did this. I ran this test. Yeah, with my kids. I'm like, and the doctor said, I cannot operate on this child. This child is my son. How could this be? And the kids were like, because the doctor's the mother. I'm like,
oh, okay. So it is.
but in 1985, that was really hard. Yeah. And thank God it is different. We mean well. And then when we get into these actual situations, there's this backsliding that happens.
Well, I think this always happens too, is that the surface starts to change and we're like, everything's different, but the fundamentals don't really change. And therefore, these huge issues don't change. But like, because the language and the stuff kind of at the surface starts changing, we feel like, oh, this isn't a problem anymore. You know, I mean, I remember my parents having a friend over at some point, and the game was, you'll never guess what this guy does for a living. It was a man. And the punchline was, he was a nurse. Like, what? That's crazy. Like, but I think what happens is those things start disappearing, but the fundamentals of how much unpaid labor is needed in our society is still there. And so the women are doing it.
It's a little bit invisible. Let me give you some hard data on the time and how this broke down. They had women across all sorts of circumstances. And again, they didn't do same-sex couples. And people are either men or women. They didn't have a gender spectrum. So, you know, take it with that grain of salt. But in this research that they did, mothers spend 2.3 times as much as fathers overall. As I said before, young women, 18 to 24, have 20% less free time than men their age. I'm thinking about my teenagers who are still at home. That is it possible that I'm helping to create a world in which my daughter does more household work than my sons do? I mean, you have to consider that I probably am, right? Despite everything I know to the contrary, in order for this to continue to be true.
When you're saying they do 2.3 times as much, that's household work. So they do more laundry, they do more cleaning, they do more everything around the household.
Yeah, and presumably if kids are around, they're doing more taking care of the kids. There was something in here, this was kind of an interesting idea, secondary childcare. This was a term used by the study. Primary childcare is feeding the kids, bathing the kids, putting the kids to bed, you know, you're hands-on with the kids. Secondary childcare is the kids are around, you're making dinner. The kids are around, they're doing their homework, and you're cleaning up after dinner, whatever it is. That's secondary childcare. And the study also showed that when men are doing childcare, it tends more often to be secondary childcare. Like they're keeping an eye on the kids with the football game on while you know, go exercise, whatever.
Do the real work. Right.
Okay. Yeah, do other different work. Not that there's anything wrong with secondary childcare, and I think we should all be okay with doing more of it. But when men do it, it tends to be more like, I help around here. And it's kind of around. I know not all men. I know. And I know things are better than they used to be.
Well, hashtag not all men, but also like we're talking about statistics. We're not talking about our feelings.
Right. You're right. This is not feelings. This is what this study showed. Working women spend twice as many hours a week as working men on childcare and household work. Mothers who work part-time spend almost 4 times more time on childcare and household stuff as part-time working fathers. I thought this was interesting. They weren't comparing mothers who work part-time spend 4 times more on household and work than their full-time working parenting partner. No, this is part-time working mothers spend 4 times more than part-time working fathers. So they should have the same amount of time.
Yeah. I mean, I think the 30,000 foot view is that in, 1930s, 40s, 50s world, men went to work, women stayed home with the children and did all the household duties. And then in the 60s, in comes the working women, but nothing else about the picture really changes. So now it's like you've added a job and you're still doing all of the other things, cooking and making dinner and running the holidays and making sure the school forms are done. And the not all men thing, I actually do not think this is true in my household. I think if anything, we have reached a point, and it's partly my busyness at work, where my husband probably does slightly more household labor than I do.
You're skewing these numbers.
We're skewing the numbers.
Good for you. It's great.
But that doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. This is a trend report, not a, this isn't actually true because my husband does the dishes report. It's about a bigger picture. And still, I think that the kind of labor that women do is kind of intractable. Certainly when the kids were young, I was probably doing 6 times more work than he was.
Yes. Well,
we had a little bit of a change in circumstances. His job moved closer to home. There are reasons why those circumstances changed, but this is not about what's going on in your house. This is what's going on in the world.
well, there's something about the different age groups and how this plays out differently in different age groups. So let's talk about that right after this. Hellions, it's time for some spring cleaning, and I don't just mean the coat closets. Doing your financial spring cleaning can actually be super easy when you let Monarch do your financial spring cleaning for you. One dashboard that gets your entire financial life organized. No more clutter, no more mess, no more logins scattered everywhere, just accounts, investments, property, and more, all in one place. Get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $50 with promo code FRESH. Monarch allows you to look not only at what you've already spent, but also to plan for the future. With Monarch, you can set savings goals, plan for big purchases, and notice spending trends before they become a problem. I can generate cash flow reports that show me what we spent this quarter, this month, what we're probably going to spend next month, and feel prepared, organized, and knowing how to plan for the future. No more surprises and a lot more clarity. Try Monarch. Use code FRESH at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FRESH. All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that, taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence, all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE.
Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, and it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women, tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING. So you were saying before that the balance might have been most acutely the other way in your household, with you doing more of it when your kids were little. This study goes by the age of the woman whose time is being studied, not by the age of her children. That being said, this will probably not surprise you that it's women 25 to 34. It's that age tranche that shows the most marked difference between women 25 to 34 and men 25 to 34. That's when the time pressure is most acute. And dads too. Dads are also spending the most time on childcare and household labor during those years. It's just that it's 40 hours a week for dads and 60 hours a week for women.
Right. I threw off these statistics by having my first baby at 37. But yes, it's the early years. I am out of this study. But yeah, it's the early years that I think, I sometimes look at people. We were somewhere yesterday. It was an adorable baby, and I was chatting with the mom. Just one of those babies, like right off the Gerber carton, just so darn cute. And I remember we left, and I was like, she has to be with that baby for the rest of the day. I really enjoy being with that baby for 20 minutes, but the baby was getting fussy. She was kind of walking it out, like, she was interrupting, and I did think, wow, that's her whole day, is that baby. I have a 16-year-old who I can sometimes see in the morning and then see at night. He's getting on the train, going places. All my kids are kind of out and about. Yesterday we went out. It was a little parade in town, and my daughter ran into friends, and she was gone for the rest of the day. Finally at 9:00 at night, I'm like, where is she? Oh, we should find out where she is and go pick her up. It's so different. Those little, and forget it, 2-year-old who the second you take your eyes off of is injuring themselves or the house or drawing with Sharpie on the dog or whatever horrible thing they're doing. That time of parenting between like 1 and 8 is just so, between 0 and 8.
It's sort of like that secondary childcare we were talking about before. It kind of doesn't exist when your kids are little.
That's pretty much it.
Like they're here somewhere and, right?
Yeah.
And I'm getting dinner ready and they're around. Maybe they're in the jumper chair, but you need to know where they are pretty much. You need to have eyes on.
I think that these statistics were very true for me personally until the kids were probably solid elementary school. And then it really did flip because then it became, okay, you take them to the track meet. Okay, you can fill out these camp forms. The work, I don't know. It was just much easier to split up as the kids got older.
So the problem with this 25 to 34, as this study points out, is that those are also the prime career building years.
Right.
Those are the times when you're trying to get ahead at work, where you're putting in more hours so you can make partner. Those are the same years, which is why the burden is so great for everybody. But there's a cost to that when you're doing 50% more of the outside of work stuff as your parenting partner who's not a woman.
And I will say anecdotally that I know many women who hit 30 and started having families, and at their careers, either their careers ended. Lots of people, because we live in New York City, were in media and fashion and magazines and careers that are not friendly to people with children and not friendly to people over 40 when you try to go back after having kids. They're kind of very young people industries. And I know people who, let's use the example of big law, they were on the partner track at law firms. And then the idea was you could either go part-time, which kind of took you off the track. And realistically, for people I know, it was like, well, now you're working 30 hours instead of 50 hours. And you're doing it for half the set. Like the math didn't even make sense. To go kind of part-time was a huge blow to you and wasn't even such a tremendous benefit. You might end up working 35 hours instead of 50. And then to be getting no reward for it. I think the choices around work and women that we, again, on that surface level, like to kind of pat ourselves on the back of, well, we solved that. Now we treat everyone equally. It really doesn't work that way.
It's not as simple. And then it all perpetuates each other. So the cost of childcare, we've been talking about that a lot recently on the show. My eyes have really been open about that being a huge issue. Childcare is very expensive. If the math doesn't math and you can't really afford to have your kid in full-time childcare, because of reasons, because of unequal distribution of household labor, and you had to do more of this and you had to go part-time at the law firm, you're the one who's going to stop working because that's what makes sense. It's more likely in a given household that the woman is going to be making less than the man who's going to stop working to do the full-time childcare. And I raise my kids full-time. I'm not castigating that choice at all. I'm just saying when that choice is to be made, it's more likely to be the woman who makes the choice. And then that does have, of course, career-long effects on your ability to earn and you take time off.
And these are all the more subtle versions of post-gender that
Right.
if women are more likely to be making less, that informs those decisions beyond the fact that there are still stigmas around dads who stay home while mom works and other things, that this all feeds itself. And Jessica Clarko spoke about this on our Fresh Take, that because we are a country that has a very underdeveloped social safety net, when things go wrong, someone has to take care of these people. There is no one to take care of your 80-year-old parent in dementia, but there's also no one to take care of your 45-year-old sister who broke her hip in a cycling accident. I mean, right. Anyone who needs help, you either need to pay an extremely high amount of money. I mean, every time I've been confronted with a healthcare need for a family member, I've thought to myself, we can't afford to hire someone to help. And it's too much work for us to do by ourselves. How are we doing this? It's so crazy. Mm-hmm. It's an unbelievably crazy choice in terms of I either have to quit, even times I wasn't really working, I have to quit my life. I have to leave my kids with my husband for a month and go be this person's full-time caretaker, because people do get into situations where they cannot take care of themselves.
Yes. And when that time comes, I mean, I've learned this recently in my own life, you do need somebody to drop everything and be there and take over. They need a healthcare advocate. And in that case, I was the right person to do it. And I think that's often the case, that it's a female in the family who's like, you know what, I can do this. Which leads me to another point. You know, this Surgeon General's report on parenting that we did last month, we talked about that, how stressful parenting is. And that's just it, is that this work is not only like, nobody cares, I do too much around here, and you never even say thank you for lasagna. It's more than that this work is actually really stressful and can take a toll on your mental health. And women are doing 50% more of it, right? It isn't just, I never get to sit down and watch my shows, right? It's, I never get to, use my intellectual capacity in anything other than coloring and playing Barbies. It's stressful.
Yeah, and you may get to sit down and watch your shows and still be this stressed. Like it's not a one-to-one. I mean,
that's right.
This, I think we undercount the kind of ambient stress that goes on when you have, for example, a parent who is at an age where you start to feel like at any moment that person could use full-time help. Currently, they're fine. I'm at home watching Bravo. It's okay. But I kind of know, based on my parents' age and risk factors and what's going on with them, that's kind of, I was talking to my therapist the other day. We were talking about the idea of burbling volcanoes. And the metaphor really worked for me, that the stress is, even if I'm sitting and watching my Bravo shows, I am in a room where, like, I've got a kid who may be applying to college soon. I've got a kid who may be struggling with X or Y issue. I've got a parent over 80. I've got a chronically ill, close member of my family who may get a bad diagnosis soon. That those volcanoes are always in the room. So even when I'm sitting and watching Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and getting very invested in Mary Cosby and her drama, I'm still in a room full of burbling volcanoes, any of which could erupt at any time. And that's not relaxing. That is doing stress damage to me. And so it's not so much whether you are actively running from lava, just the feeling and the knowledge. And that's true just of having a child out in the world, right? Is that there's that stress of, okay, are they doing okay? Is everything going okay? On any given day, are they going to walk in the front door in tears because they lost all their friends, or having done something stupid online and I've got to untangle that for them? Or, oh my God, I found, drugs in their room. Like, whatever's going to happen on any given day. I have not found drugs in my children's room. I'm using it as an example.
Who knew, guys?
But that ambient kind of anticipatory stress. And I know that I take that on much more than my husband. And you could say, well, then you just need to relax. Like, you just need to
stop noticing those burbling volcanoes in the room with you.
Yeah. And I think my husband doesn't. Like, I don't think he's sitting at work in the volcano field in the same way that I am. But I don't know. That is not changeable. That is a fixed. That is not a variable.
But I think sometimes that, I just go with the flow. I just don't worry about things is literally enabled by the person who is tending to the burbling volcanoes and is making sure nothing's erupting, is keeping an eye on things.
Correct.
That lets everybody else go have a good day. I do think so.
Yeah, I'll give you another parallel for that. When my babies were young, my husband would sometimes say, I'll keep an ear out for them tonight. And then he would fall fast asleep. And I was, of course, the only one who ever woke up. And I finally got to the point of, if I'm going to take a night off, I'm going to sleep in the basement with earplugs in, because you have to hear them then. And I don't. That thing of, I think that men kind of go through life sleeping in the basement with earplugs, whether that's a default, whether it's genetic, whether it's trained into us. I don't know the answers to that. But I do know that constant ticker and that constant scanning and the kind of, you can picture like the Terminator, computer through the eyes that's like ding, 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 danger over here. Da, da, da. That is what my brain looks like all the time. And that is a lot of work.
Yeah, I have older kids now. If anybody listening doesn't know this, I have 2 kids in college and a kid in high school. My kid in high school was out late the other night. Fine. Was supposed to send me a text when they were on their way home, getting in an Uber, whatever. Didn't. And, I'm looking at my watch. I'm checking in with the person. I go downstairs to wait for them. I'm doing all this stuff. And the next morning, my spouse asked me how I slept. I'm like, well, I was a little bit like, they didn't do what they were supposed to do. And they came home kind of late and I had to track them down. And, they just went to sleep and woke up. That's what my spouse did. So it does kind of continue. And it's not because they're a bad person. It's because they never even considered worrying about it. Because why would they? Because I'm going to worry about it. I'll handle it. Not even worry about it. I'm going to handle it.
Is that it? Like, what if somebody said, what would have happened if you just went to sleep? I guess you don't know where that person is. Like, someone should be awake and worrying where your child is, right?
Yeah, we went to bed together and both of us were like, okay, we'll keep an ear out. We'll have the dog with us and that's usually with my kid. And I have my phone on so that we'll hear from the kid. And then I'm the only one who thought about it before morning. Exactly. It just sort of happens that way. This was an interesting statistic I wanted to highlight. Single moms in this study, this is also true for them. Single moms do twice as much primary and secondary childcare as single fathers. And I was like, wait, how is that possible that single moms are working on childcare twice as much as single fathers? And I'm like, okay, are single fathers just getting the women in their lives to help?
Maybe. Probably. Knowing them.
Right? Exactly. Knowing them. I thought that was fascinating. Adults without children, if they're married, women are doing twice as much of the household work as men.
Yeah.
Getting married leads to more work, even if you don't have kids.
Oh, we could do a whole episode on that, Amy. Like, getting married is much harder on women than it is on men. Fascinating. All right, we're going to be back and we're going to try to find some solutions to nationwide gender inequity. Good luck.
My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEAMalibu.com.
Hey there, I'm Kendra Adachi, and my show, The Lazy Genius Podcast, helps you be a genius about the things that matter and lazy about the things that don't, and you get to decide what matters. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to give you a new way to see. Episodes of the Lazy Genius Podcast are full of compassionate time management tips and permission slips to do what makes sense for you. New episodes drop every Monday. Follow and listen to the Lazy Genius Podcast on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
And now, your guide to fall for moms.
From the What Fresh Hell podcast.
It's August. Put those beach reads and sunglasses away, lady. The kids are coming home from camp, and you need to unpack those sleepaway trunks and get to some school shopping. What do you mean your fourth grader doesn't have a protractor? School starts next week, and your kid can't be seen in last year's sweatpants. They need all new sweatpants for this year. Yes, they look the same as last year's sweatpants, but they're not, okay? Let's head to the mall before time runs out.
Good. You've gotten the kids squared away in school, but you are way behind. Your oldest is going to need a tutor in math. Have you figured that out? And your youngest needs a rental trombone for band. You didn't forget that, did you? Because that would be bad. Also, fall sports will now be taking up 62% of your time. Dig deep, Mom. This is what September is all about.
Let's move, people. It's Halloween. You are at least a week late on putting up those spooky decorations. And if you don't get started carving those pumpkins this weekend, you might as well put an I Ruined Halloween sign up on your front lawn. And where are you on that all-family Minions costume you guys talked about in July? The Spirit Halloween store isn't coming to you, friend. You need to get your act together and make sure this is a Halloween to remember.
Seriously, why are your Halloween decorations still up? It's turkey time. Let's go on those Thanksgiving travel plans and book a hotel room. Otherwise, you'll all end up having to sleep in Cousin Melvin's garage like last year. Also, your mom really needs the kids' holiday gift list because you know she likes to get everything at the Black Friday sales. But if she doesn't know what the kids want, how is she supposed to do that? We don't want to use the word disappointed, but frankly, you need to get your act together.
Is that an inflatable turkey on your lawn? How embarrassing. Thanksgiving has been over for 2 days. Okay, you got home from a 6-hour drive yesterday. It's December now. You need to get your seasonal decor game moving here. What do you mean you forgot the holiday concert was Thursday? Your kid has the bassoon solo, and all the grandparents were counting on you to remind them that was coming up.
And that gift list isn't getting any shorter, so you need to hustle if that's all going to get done. This is the time of year the core memories are being made for every single member of your family, and we need some whimsy. Stat! Listen, you're the one that decided to make that 12-month calendar featuring pictures of every family member from each month last year for all the aunts and uncles, and they love it. So you are on the hook for that again this year, and also for the rest of forever.
And this weekend, don't forget, it's cookie baking. Yes, you do need to do all 4 kinds because that's the tradition. So you better hit the grocery store, and don't forget lemons for zesting like you did last year, okay? And also the holiday bazaar is next Tuesday, and you signed up last spring to run the cash registers. You can do it. Why? Because if you don't, you'll be letting people down.
And for God's sake, Mama, relax. No one likes it when you get so stressed around the holidays. This is supposed to be fun, and you kind of bum everyone out when you get all uptight at this time of year, okay? Find your jolly, would you?
And also don't forget that the kids need all new outfits for holiday cards. Those are non-negotiables. And you have to figure out before January what you're getting for the January birthdays. So let's keep our head in the game, shall we? This has been your guide to fall for moms.
From the What Fresh Hell podcast. Anne Helen Peterson has a great Substack. I will put the link in the show notes. She talked about this study as well and was looking at, so why do we put up with this? The same study showed that a supermajority, 77% of the people studied in this study, said they agree with the statement that work should be shared equally between men and women. So everybody's like, yes, it should be shared equally by men and women. And then it's not. So why is that? And she has thoughts about that. But part of the thought is that I think the well-meaning men are like, I do way more than my dad did, than my grandfather did. And they do, but so do you. You know, we're all doing more of everything. We're all working longer and parenting more hands-on. We're spending more time with childcare and with work than we used to, per the Surgeon General study. So they're right, they're doing more. So are you, and you're doing more and more. So the inequity just perpetuates, I think.
Yeah, and the expectations have gotten bigger, right? I mean, we've talked about that very anecdotally, but the expectations for parental involvement, the expectations that you're kind of super geared into the portal because your kid is going to a 4-year college, the expectations of how much parents will be involved with their kids' sports has changed. The expectations around caring for our elders and also people living a lot longer and having much more complicated health situations. And this is not to say like, oh, it's all in your head if you just relax. Things have really changed and people have gotten much more spread out. Like my mom grew up in a 2-family household with Her cousin's family lived upstairs. They lived downstairs. So there was always people around. They almost lived, it's like a commune kind of vibe, you know? Or if you all lived in a village and like, okay, everybody's kind of looking out for Mrs. McGinley who might go wandering down the street in her underpants and like everyone will get her home. We don't live in community anymore. And so the pressures on every individual are so much higher.
Even just like homework that I think, when I was in first grade, I had, 2 + 2 and a picture of Jesus to color in, and that was my homework, right? And that was
And
it.
you got an A. I know you did.
And I got an A. I had beautiful handwriting. Penmanship was a class when I was in school, and I like slayed at it because I was a motivated student, but also because the work wasn't that hard. Now I feel like second graders are really being pushed to challenge themselves, and there's too much homework. And so who's doing the secondary childcare and sitting with them or next to them or doing the homework with them, whatever? It's parents. So there is more work to do. It isn't just making sure everybody is matching Thanksgiving outfits. You're not making up the more work, which I think sometimes we get fed that. Like, well, if you just didn't overthink everything, it would be fine. And I don't think that that's fair or that's true. There's policy changes. I'll give you a couple of policy changes that I think have to happen. We have to have childcare be more available and less expensive. And other countries heavily subsidize it, and we don't. So, I don't know, run for office. I don't want to tell you about that, but there's something we can fix, and it's better, less expensive, more available childcare.
Yeah, this seems like a no-brainer, and yet it seems like it will never happen. It's one of those annoying things that I feel kind of hopeless about it. And similarly with elder care and care for people with, the good news is people are living much longer, but the problem is they need a lot more help. And it is such a non-negotiable. I didn't really confront this until my own kind of middle age that, this picture out here with elderly parents who need tremendous amount of care. I'm not talking about my own situation, actually, but it is burying friends of mine. And the costs are astronomical. I know people who have 2 parents making really good livings, and they are absolutely getting drawn down by the costs of taking care of people. And the kind of costs like nobody wants. It's always been kind of a joke, like, oh, my kids will put me in a home. It's like, you can't give advanced medical care to people who need it. And yet people are living longer, and we've done nothing to kind of help with the thing of what do you do? Taking care of a baby is a lot of work, but taking care of an adult is a lot of work. Or taking care of a child with severe disabilities, child with complex medical needs. The idea that you're just kind of thrown to the fates with these things, I think, is incredibly frightening.
It is. And you are on your own, and we shouldn't stand for that. But of course, we need to take care of this for the people who are in the tumble dryer right now, right? Like somebody who's right now dealing with a kid with special needs and a parent with a healthcare diagnosis at the same time. She really doesn't have time to be writing her congressperson about this stuff. Maybe none of us do, but we need to be thinking about this as something that really matters to us and not take on the idea that, well, maybe we are a little better at this. Maybe it's just because we see mess more than men in our lives do. Maybe we're just better at multitasking. Maybe we're just more suited to do. None of that is true. I talk about all of this in Happy to Help. All of this has been scientifically disproven. And if you heard studies that men's and women's brains are just different, I'm here to tell you there's other studies that disproved that. But we have sort of taken that in over time. Like, well, maybe it's just they do what they can. They just don't understand how to do 2 things at once like we do. That's not really true.
Right. That is definitely the story.
So part of unlearning this, I'm going to quote Anne Helen Peterson here. She says, we're socialized to believe an unclean woman is a bad woman and an untidy house is reflective of an undisciplined mind. You can understand this thinking as BS and still be subject to it. So I don't think the fix for ourselves is like, well, stop having such high standards for everybody around you and stop being so, unpleasant and perfectionist. It's just more understand that your house, the way your house looks and the way your kids look is thought to be a reflection of you is true. It's socialized into all of us. And it doesn't mean that you have to, adhere to it.
Yeah. And that we as a society have gone from living in community to living extremely individually and not put in any community supports. And therefore, it's like, okay, ladies, you got this. You're going to take care of the elderly parent. You're going to prop up the failing school with bake sales and fundraisers. You're going to...
Right. And free time. Right. You're going to be on that school board and and have people yell at you. You're going to do that. Yeah.
You're going to be super mom to your child with special needs. They don't need services. You're going to figure it out. You're going to find Lorenzo's oil and cure them, whatever it is.
Old deluxe alert.
Back in my day. But I mean, this is super mom and super women can do it all. And it's like, well, what if we don't want to? What if this actually were to be more equitable and we put that at the top of the list?
People are always sort of like, so how do you start this conversation? Right. And I think like Eve Rodsky's book, Fair Play, and she has a deck of cards. That's useful. But I think it's also something you said before, like going through this study. This isn't like, not all men, I do a lot around here. Like you do. This is a study that shows that we all have blind spots, apparently, that are continuing to contribute to the women doing way, way, way more than their share. And this is something like we all have to work on, but it's data. You can't argue with it being a trend that cuts across age groups and every kind of socioeconomic, with kids, without kids. If 18-year-olds are doing twice as much household work, girls, as 18-year-old boys, that 18-year-old boy gets hundreds of hours, 500 hours a year more to write internship letters. I don't know. They're probably looking at their phones that whole time, but that free time is yours to chase whatever you want instead of load the dishwasher.
Yeah. And I think that it's worth understanding the data so that you can make changes where you can. Like, is this everybody's job when someone in the family gets sick? And how do we involve everybody in that care, not just the women, you know? In your own household, is the share equitable? Are you asking for the same kind of help from everybody? Are you praising the same kind of help from everybody? And it may be that your daughter is more likely to show up with a broom and be like, I cleaned the kitchen. And who knows where that's coming from, social, whatever conditioning, but just leaning back against the data. And then there's the like changing minds and hearts and running for office and changing the society, which I think can feel very overwhelming on like a Wednesday morning when you're listening to this. You're like, I'm just basically trying to get to bedtime. But I do think that when you look at this kind of data for anything, when you look at it for racial issues, gender issues, any kind of societal picture, because you may be tempted to say like, well, my husband works hard, you know, but let's look at the big picture and say, is this a problem? And I don't think that you can deny that it is.
Yeah, well, I hope this episode was useful. I don't know if we solved it, but we certainly circled it, I would say.
Gender equity in America, we solved it. Amy, why not?
Oh, phew. That's just in time.
We're done. No more problems. Don't worry. Solved it. You've heard some about Amy's book, Happy to Help, on this episode. And if you found this episode resonating with you, go and pre-order a copy of Happy to Help. You can find it at bit.ly/happy to help. Book. It is linked on our website, whatfreshhellpodcast.com. We'll be talking a lot about the book when it comes out in January, but go pre-order your copy today like all the cool kids are doing. Happy to Help wherever books are sold.
Thank you, Margaret. That is so nice of you. And I really appreciate it. And the pre-orders really help. So thanks to everybody who's done it already. I really appreciate it.
Go get it, friends. Happy to help. And with that, we will talk to you next time.
So long.